Hello. Oh my gosh. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Heart to Heart with Hads. If you can hear my voice, I'm a little bit much sicky. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not recording on YouTube this week because I am just going through a little bit of a cold or something. So I don't really know what it is. And I was bantering back and forth. Today's the day before the episode's supposed to drop, and I was going back and forth of like, oh, I'm sick, I shouldn't do it, I don't feel good. But I'm like, you know what? I feel good enough to just sit and talk for a little bit. I think I can do it. I'm not recording myself, but I'm going to talk about something that has been a little bit pressing on my mind, which is kind of like my lifestyle and just hearing from like friends and things like that, um, on just like things that they've been talking about and going through. And so this episode is all about selfishness. And I think that being selfish is actually a really great thing. And I think for the longest time, I people around me had like told me that I was pretty selfish, and which is really, I used to take it as a jab, as an insult, but the more that I think about it, the more I like to associate with that term, and it's really not all that bad of a term as we try and make it out to be. I think that it's one of the best things you can do for yourself and for those around you, those that maybe, okay, quote unquote, say that you are selfish. I know it's often seen as something that's very negative, but when understood and doing it correctly, I think it can lead to just more fulfillment, balance, and which I don't like the word balance, but just like overall happy, like well being. I don't know how else to explain it. So, I mean, just like sorry, I'm probably going to be sniffling a lot, which is really gross, but like I really wanted to do this episode. I know I said in the beginning, like, I wasn't going to do it, but I was like, you know what? I've done it every single week, and I'm not going to back down now just because I'm not feeling good the week prior to when I should drop it. So, sorry, but I'm just going to keep going along with it. So, okay, back to the selfishness aspect. I think that obviously, whenever I compete, and just I feel like the sport of bodybuilding in itself is very selfish. Um, and so I think like during that time period of like whenever you're in a prep setting or whatever, you really, really have to set boundaries because you have such huge goals and aspirations that if one little thing like sets it off, then it's very harmful to where you're trying to get. And so you have to set those boundaries with literally everyone and everything in your life. And it's okay to say no. And I think I've always been a person that's been like, I'm not just going to say yes to everything under the sun because I feel bad, to an extent. Now, sometimes I used to be like, I did not want to disappoint anybody. And I just wanted to try and get done anything and everything I could. So I would just take on whatever came my way and not really care about myself and my overall well being. I mean, I still did that. So whenever I quit my job, they were like, well, will you stay around and train the other girl? And deep down, I was like, I, I don't really know if I should do this. Like, obviously I want to help, but it's just keeping me around longer. And whenever I could be pouring myself into my coaching and things that I'm passionate about, because I had been, debating on leaving that job for a while. And when I did, it was just like every little thing was like keeping me on, like pulled on this rope of like I couldn't let go of it. And it was more on the pleasing of other people that I was scared about. And so I'm not perfect in this aspect by any means. It's something that I'm continuously working on. I would say I'm better at being selfish in some aspects than others. If people go out, ask me to go out to eat or things like that, I'm 9 out of 10 times I'm going to say no. I like to save that for special occasions, and it's typically on the weekend with my boyfriend. So if you want to hang out with me or see me or something, we're not going to go out to eat. We can get takeout at my house because I'm going to eat here because I have goals, and you can say that's hardcore or whatever you want, but whenever your goals and your why are big enough, then you set those boundaries up front, and it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. I mean, and you can call it selfish, you can call it whatever you want it, but there has to come a point in time where you do the things that you want to do for yourself. And if it makes you happy, then just do it. That's what I don't understand about people that are just get so caught up in what other people think about. I mean, obviously I do too, to an extent. Like, there's other pieces of my life, but when it comes to like bodybuilding and things like that, I truthfully am very selfish on that aspect. Now when it comes to like jobs or other little things, that's where I start to really care too much about what the other person feels, and I don't put myself first. And so that can be super frustrating. And so you're not alone there, but just know like we've got some work to do. So I think let's just define what it means to be selfish. I'm typing in the word selfish on my phone right now. It says lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. That's super annoying that that's what the Oxford Dictionary says. Um, I just, I don't think that, and maybe there's even a different definition for selfish that's not so bad. Like, okay, because these all say egocentric, egotistical, self centered, self regarding, self absorbed, self obsessed, self seeking, self serving, wrapped up in oneself, which is annoying because that's really not what we're talking about here. So I need to find a better word for selfish that doesn't necessarily me. Okay, how do you say selfish in a good way? Self caring, self preserving, independent, self reliant, self assured, self respecting, self sufficient, self focused, self directed, and self concerned. So I feel like these are all more better definitions of what I'm trying to come across here as like caring about yourself, setting boundaries, all of that stuff is more of, I would say, independent. Okay, that's a good one. Independent and self assurance. I really like that. You're very sure in yourself. And I'm just going to backtrack. I used to take this test. I didn't used to take this. I think I mentioned this on one of my previous episodes, but my mom was like a strengths quest coach, and one of my strengths was self assurance. And this is like, you're sure in the things that you do. Like, you're very independent. Let me just look it up. Self assurance meaning confidence in one's own abilities or character. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of similar to what we're talking about here about being independent, being a little bit selfish. But all in all, I don't know. I think selfish needs a better definition, or we need to come up with a different word that describes someone because I'm not egotistical. I'm not the words that it says. And I just care about my boundaries and my own goals. And sometimes it offends people. So never, gosh, my throat's already itching just from this. Never look at it as a you problem, look at it as a them problem. They're taking offense because you're doing things that they probably have never done or never will be able to do. I think I have to sneeze. Okay, maybe. Ooh, I don't know. So what I'm saying here is there's a difference between like destructive selfishness, I guess you could say. So like acting without regard for others, where you just completely don't care about anybody else, and then like healthy selfishness, so prioritizing your overall well-being. They're two totally completely different things. You're not what you're doing is not out of spite for anybody else. If your selfishness is intentional, then what you're doing is not out of spite for anyone else. It's all for yourself, like your own good. So I think that's where like the misconception comes from. But I think it's super important that putting yourself is very much necessary for your mental, physical, and emotional health. So all of these things, like if they're not aligned and in a good foundational spot, like if you cannot show up for yourself, how do you expect to be there for others, do things for others? I know for a fact, like if I'm not well, like I know that I cannot help others. And I think this goes down to just me doing like what I do with coaching and things. I have to have some sort of selfishness or I can't show up the way that I do for my athletes and my people that I help and people that are in my corner. So if you're say like you're a parent or you have a boyfriend, like if you can't do these things for yourself, if you're not allowed to go to the gym or eat the foods that make you feel good, then how can you really mentally, for one, show up for, your partner or whatever if you can't do the things that bring you peace and bring you joy? So that's just one thing that you need to really keep in mind whenever you're hyper fixated on like, wow, am I being selfish right now? It's like, no, like without me doing these things, I wouldn't be me. That was good, Hadley. That was really good. I'm getting better at this, guys. Um, but like, I think it's just hard with, especially females, we put this pressure on ourselves, like that we need to always be putting ourselves before others. And because like we're the caretakers, but like really in actuality, this just makes us like ran through the dirt, like drugged down. And so we have to be able to come up with these ways, these practices to put ourselves first, to actually take care of us first before we can go out of our way and do things for others. My throat's getting scratchy, guys. Like all of this of like you not putting yourself first can lead to burnout, resentment, and just loss of your identity and yourself because you're constantly thriving on doing for others and never pouring into yourself. And it can just literally drag you down and burn you out so fast. So I really encourage you to put yourself first, whether that be getting up earlier in the morning and going to the gym, like taking a 10-minute bath like before starting your day with your family, whatever it is, you have to have that piece of like putting yourself first. And it's not selfish at all. Um so ways to be selfish in a healthy way. Number one, setting boundaries. So, especially, I've already talked about this just a little bit in relationships. Like, you need to be independent. You guys do not need to be doing the same things all the time together. And I don't care what you say, like, you need to have two separate lives. And if you're always connected at the hip, it's just like you don't have your own identity that way. And I'm very thankful that me and my boyfriend are like we don't even live in the same town, which is it does suck, but we have two totally different lives. And I wouldn't even say lifestyles because I mean, we do like lead healthy lifestyles, but what he does and what I do in a day are completely different. And I mean, it works out because even on the weekends, like when we do get to see each other, like we still get to do the things that we love to do. Like I'll go to the gym and like he'll go to the golf course, and but at the end of the day, like we're hanging out together. And so I think that's important is like you two have to have your own hobbies. And same within work, like you have to have boundaries of people are trying to peer pressure you to go out to eat lunch or whatever it is, and you're just like, no, like I have these goals. I'm going to be selfish today. I'm not going to do this. And same with what I talked about of just like setting boundaries of like if you don't want to do something, do not do it because then you just make yourself feel worse. And I've learned this the hard way so many times. And then just in your daily life, setting boundaries on things that you should do and not do. You don't have to do 5 million tasks in a day. It's okay. You can be selfish and do less than that and have time for you to do something for yourself. So, and how, like, to communicate these boundaries, just be like, hey, like, I know you love to do this and I love to do this. If we can both do those and then come together, it'll be great. And if you're at work, hey, I know that you guys like to go out to eat to lunch and I have this goal of not, like, that's okay. Like, we just put our differences aside. Um, so that's one part. Another part is just caring for yourself, self care. And this is not like getting your nails done and shit like that. So it's kind of what I said, going back to making time for exercise, saying no to commitments that you don't want to do, and then just like having alone time. This is huge, huge. And alone time too is like just get off your phone, like read a book, sit in the bath, whatever it may be. You got to do it. And then this last one is super huge. You have to set goals, personal goals, whether that be I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week at this time after work at 5:45 a.m. You have to set these specific goals, because I mean, yeah, this is going to make you quote unquote selfish. You have to do things for yourself. I'm going to go walk by myself at this time. Whatever it is, you have to set these goals, and make time for these self improvement things without feeling guilty, knowing that you can still get done whatever you want to get done in your life, but you still have this time for yourself. So, being selfish is not a bad thing, and it carries over into the rest of your life. Like, it has positive effects. Your relationships improve. Like, if you're being selfish in the right way, when you take care of yourself, you're a lot more capable of supporting others without feeling drained. This is huge. If you can't pour into your cup, you cannot pour in to others. So, that's number one. Number two, you're going to increase your productivity and fulfillment. So, prioritizing your own needs lead to better focus and just overall satisfaction in life. And last one, it inspires others. Whenever you're on your shit all the time, people are so inspired by people who are take care of themselves and put themselves first and don't have to say yes to every single thing, and just like they literally just do them. They're their own person and they don't go to all these even I'm not saying it's bad to like go to events and things, but they're those people that are just doing it for them. Like, you could say that I'm selfish. I mean, oh, I already know that I'm selfish. People say it all the time, and I don't care. But I like to put myself first, and I will always do that because I know the goals that I have for myself, and I know that if I don't do them, I'm not going to show up in the best way possible. So I want people to respect that. Yeah, I'm going to the gym on Saturday. I don't care what you have to say about it. I do it every single Saturday, and you know this. And we can still have a good Saturday together, but this is what I need to get done first. And I'm going to do it on my own time, and then we can chat and we can hang out whenever I'm done. But this is me, this is my time, my goals, and this is what I got to do. And same with work. There's parts of my day where I'm like, I'm going to do this at this time and I don't want you to bother me. I'm going on do not disturb. And that's that. And same with so many other little things. And just another example too is like, I truthfully don't have too many friends because I'm just so busy and focused on, growing myself. And part of growing myself, I help those around me grow. It's such a trickle effect, and you don't really realize it. But the more that you pour into yourself, the more you're able to pour into others, and people, the more you're able to influence them. And so that's my biggest thing whenever I am the way I am, is that people see that, they look up to that, they love that, they are drawn to someone who is like that. And so that's my thing, is I want to be that for somebody out there. Um, okay, last thing is overcoming the guilt of being selfish. So I know you can feel really guilty when it comes to this. Um, but it's important to shift your mindset to see more of like the self improvement side of things. Like you're doing this to improve yourself rather than the selfishness of I'm doing this out of spite for somebody else because I don't want to hang out with them. I don't want to do this, that, and the other. When in reality, you're just trying to better yourself. So you always have to look at the why of why you're doing the things that you're doing. If it's out of spite, then, that's a deeper rooted issue. But if it's truthfully something that you're trying to work on and, you have goals, you have big goals, then it's okay to be selfish the way you are. So just keep your why in the back of your mind all the time. Um, so being selfish too in the long run, we're talking long run here, you have to think of this too whenever you start to become guilty, is that it's making your life more fulfilled. You're having a more quote unquote balanced life. I don't like the term balance, but I mean, really, it's making you a better person overall, which is just going to in turn make you a better partner, friend, and leader. This is the thing I need to focus on. I want to be the best leader for those around me, and so in order to do that, I do have to be selfish. I do have to do things on my time and my term and pour into things that some people may not understand, and that's okay that they don't have to understand. Um, but yeah, that's my take on selfishness. I think we all can think back and probably reflect on a point in our life right now where we can afford to be just a little bit more selfish. So I'm going to challenge you this week to take action on one thing you think you can be more selfish on. I'm trying to think for me what I could be more selfish on because I am pretty selfish when it comes to things. So I'm gonna have to think on that to be quite honest, because I am pretty selfish. I'm not even gonna lie, and in a good way. I think that I put myself in a good spot. But so okay, I'm gonna challenge myself, and I'm gonna be a little less selfish in one aspect because I know I could probably improve here. But for instance, like my boyfriend and I live an hour away. He's really like wanting me to come see him more often now that I'm working from home. But I've told him, like, listen, just because I'm working from home doesn't mean I don't like to be in my environment. I like to have my same routine. It helps me stay on track. And without that, I'm a mess. And so I don't want you to face the wrath of me being in a not good mood because I'm not in my day to day set routine. And so just setting that clear communication, like I said, that's just an example of what you can do. But for me, I'm gonna maybe not take my advice on be selfish, be a little less selfish this week, and just allow myself to chill out a little bit more. So I'm definitely very, very far on the selfish end, and some of us can really afford the advice of being a more selfish. But for me, I need to be a little less selfish. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Just remember that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Prioritizing yourself is the biggest first step in being the best version of you, and for others. So, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it's me sounding like a nasally whatever, but I'm so glad I ended up doing this because I just felt like I needed to get this one off my chest. So let me know if you guys like this episode. As always, I love feedback and would appreciate any reviews or ratings on podcasts. Yeah, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, any of it. Won't be having a video this week, but as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.